What's going on, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and here we are at the very start of the new year, 2019. Who knows what's going to happen this year when it comes to the best hobby, gaming, our favorite hobby. You know how we are. Anyway, this gives me a perfect opportunity to look back very briefly at 2018 and how gaming went back then. Now, oh wow, thinking saying back then like it was a million years ago. Now, because in 2018 there was a decent amount of high profile new releases as well as some, let's call them more niche releases as well, both of which had some high quality games that were very enjoyable. But for me personally, the main focus of 2018 was really something different. Because of all the new releases in 2018 being few and far between, at least the ones I was interested in anyway, I said to myself, you know what, Q, your backlog is literally hundreds of games long. So at this point, because there's so many gaps and so many breaks between all the games you're interested in, this feels like the perfect opportunity to put a dent into that backlog, dive headfirst into it, and finally complete some of these games. Some of them may be ones I started but never finished, some maybe have ones I've never even started, or some of them, hell, I've never even opened. So what I resolved to do at the start of 2018 was to start making and keeping and updating a list. This list was originally designed to keep track of every single game I finished, at least every single game I finished from the backlog. However, it did evolve a little bit, and it turns out that I ended up using it to put every game I completed on that list, be them backlog, be them old and just replaying, or even being something brand new. They all went on this list. At the end of the year, this list was 105 games long. That's right, I completed 105 different games last year. Now, before we go on to this list, which we'll quickly read off in chronological order, I actually recorded a separate version of this video. I recorded it yesterday on the 31st of December, and I went into detail about every single game, talked a little bit about them and whatnot, and then at the end of the recording, it was over an hour long. Now, I'm going to edit that version a little bit because there's a little bit of mistakes and dead air and whatnot. But I am going to edit that version and put it out as well in maybe like a week or so if you're so inclined to hear the full version of this video. But what I'm going to do in this one is we're going to read through the entire list, and instead of talking about the game or whatever like I did, I'm just going to say if it's from the backlog, if it's a new game, and there's also one or two specific games I will mention one or two extra little words about. So, without further ado, let's start on this chronological list, starting of course with the very first game I completed in 2018. Okay, let's do this. Super Mario RPG, a game I'm not sure if it's from the backlog, explained properly in the other video. Deus Ex Mankind Divided is from the backlog technically. Valkyria Chronicles 2, also from the backlog. Super Mario Sunshine, a game I'm not 100% sure if it's from the backlog. Bayonetta, from the backlog. Shadow of the Colossus Remake, a new game. Secret of Mana Remake, a new game. Halo Wars Definitive Edition, not exactly from the backlog. Life is Strange Before the Storm bonus episode was brand new and current, so not from the backlog. Secret of Mana 2, not really from the backlog, but I just wanted to replay it. Halo Wars 2, technically from the backlog. Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE, from the backlog. Alan Wake, not from the backlog, just wanted to replay. Wolfenstein 3D on the Super Nintendo, definitely not from the backlog. Project Zero Maiden of Blackwater, that's Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater for you American viewers out there, a game from the backlog. Metal Slug 1 and 2, not from the backlog. Super Metroid, of course, not from the backlog. Medal of Honor Allied Assault and both expansion packs, Spearhead and Breakthrough, not from the backlog. Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom, a brand new game. Sly Spy, not from the backlog. Vandal Hearts, not from the backlog. Return to Castle Wolfenstein, not from the backlog. StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, Prologue, Campaign and Epilogue, from the backlog. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Detroit Become Human, went all the way to get a platinum in that game, but it's brand new. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1989 arcade version, in both the Xbox 360 and arcade port, not from the backlog. Turtles in Time Reshelled, not from the backlog. Pokemon Moon, technically from the backlog. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, also technically from the backlog. And Sonic Mania, again, even though it's last year, technically from the backlog. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, brand new game. Resident Evil 4, not from the backlog. Crash Bandicoot Glorious 60 FPS Edition. Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back Glorious 60 FPS Edition. And Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped Glorious 60 frames per second edition. You can count these as backlog games if you wish, but I did play them when they were brand new, released on PC. Hotel Dusk Room 215 from the backlog. Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. Not sure if this one is from the backlog. I finished Kingdom Hearts 1 back in the day, but it wasn't the Final Mix version. Beyond Two Souls Remastered, not from the backlog. Although, well, technically I've never finished a remastered version, but I have finished the original version. Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City, of course, these games are not from the backlog. Mega Man X 1 through 8. X 1, 2 and 3, of course, not being from the backlog. I believe 4 and 5 were technically from the backlog, and I believe I may have finished 6 back in the day. 7 and 8 though, definitely properly from the backlog to an extent. Of course, that's from the Mega Man X Legacy collections, but it still counts. Metal Slug 4, not from the backlog. Final Fantasy 11, you may be wondering how I finished an MMO. I explain that in proper depth in the other version of this video. House Party, new game. I explained the whole situation about that one in the other video too. Half-Life 2, of course, not from the backlog. Gears of War Ultimate Edition, not from the backlog. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, of course, not from the backlog. Shenmue HD, you can argue if this one is backlog or not. I've obviously finished the original game several times, but not the HD version. Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3 and Halo 4 all in the Master Chief Collection, obviously not from the backlog. Shenmue 2 HD, same applies to Shenmue 1. Have finished it before, but obviously not the HD version. Zombies Ate My Neighbors, not from the backlog. Half-Life 2, Episode 1, not from the backlog. Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, obviously a brand new amazing game. Half-Life 2 Episode 2, not a backlog game. Luigi's Mansion, Glorious Analog Shoulder Button Edition, not from the backlog. Life is Strange 2 Episode 1, brand new game. Final Fight, The King of Dragons, Captain Commando, Knights of the Round, Warriors of Fate, Armored Warriors, and Battle Circuit. Technically, these games are not from the backlog, even if they are retro games from the Capcom Beat 'em Up collection. Valkyria Chronicles 4, brand new game. OG Doom on PC, obviously not a backlog game, just an amazing game to replay. Metal Gear Solid 2 HD, backwards compatible on Xbox One. Obviously not from the backlog, but did help avert my existential gaming crisis that was going on at the time. Max Payne, not from the backlog. Metal Gear Solid 3 HD, not from the backlog. Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, not a backlog game. Outlast 2 is a backlog game. Max Payne 3, not a backlog game. Night Slashers, a retro game but not exactly from the backlog. Secret of Evermore, I want to say from the backlog because I'm 99% sure I didn't finish it back in the day. Streets of Rage 2, not a backlog game, just fun to play. Bioshock Remastered, Bioshock 2 Remastered, obviously not from the backlog. Technically, I have finished the old original versions multiple times. But Bioshock 2 Minerva's Den DLC is technically from the backlog, never played it back in the day. Bioshock Infinite, not a backlog game. Aliens Arcade, obviously not a backlog game as I own the cabinet. The Punisher Arcade, and Alien vs Predator Arcade. Technically not backlog games even if they are retro games, and I'd never finished the Punisher before. Bioshock Infinite Burial at Sea, Episodes 1 and 2, not backlog. Simpsons Arcade, Sunset Riders Arcade, Turtles in Time Arcade, and glorious 6-player X-Men Arcade. None of which are backlog games. Mighty No. 9, not technically a backlog game as I did buy it just to play as the 99th game on the list. Metal Slug 5, not backlog. Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, even went so far to get the platinum, but of course it's a brand new game. Puzzle Bobble, not backlog. Killer Instinct Arcade, Mortal Kombat Arcade, neither game are backlog. And finally, last up, the last game on the list, Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight. Went all the way to get the platinum, of course, a brand new game. So that's it for the 2018 retro retrospective, if you will. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play as many retro games or as many backlog games as I wanted. And there were even a few games that weren't backlog games because I'd already finished them before that I kind of wanted to do. I definitely wanted to replay at least Final Fantasy 4 or 6, which I didn't get a chance to do. Of course, I've finished both of them before. They're both tied 50-50 for the best Final Fantasy game of all time. As well as a couple of others, like in Earthbound for example. I wanted to play Earthbound last year. I've never technically finished Earthbound from what I remember. I think I got to right to the very end and just never finished it. There's a bunch of other games that I wanted to do too, from all different genres, mostly JRPGs because, well, that is my favourite genre. I wanted to work on the Witcher series a little bit, but never even got a chance to start them. But luckily, it gave me the drive to properly do this and continue on and pace myself properly. I'm not going to do the same thing with 2019. I'm not going to say it's going to be another year of the backlog or another retro retrospective. I'm not going to keep a list, but it has me motivated to pace myself and do everything properly. Play a new game here and there, and then work on old stuff. I'm currently in the middle of playing Soul Blazer. I fucking better be after how much I spent on that damn game. But anyway, that's it. That's the end of the 2018 retro retrospective backlog, if you will. Hopefully 2019 is shaping up to be a good year. There's already a couple of good announcements that we're expecting this year, or at least games that are announced to be released this year. And there's a couple of games that are coming soon that we don't properly have release dates for. and those games may actually release this year. Anyway, as always, I want to thank everyone for watching, everyone who supported, everyone who subscribed, everyone who's ever joined a live stream, shot the shit with me, left a comment, hit the like or dislike button, whatever. I never even thought I would get anywhere near this amount of people who enjoy anything I do. And I'm looking forward to 2019, all the gaming, all the shit we do here on YouTube, and all that good stuff that you guys bring to the channel. I want to thank everyone for supporting in any way, shape or form. I hope you have a good 2019 when it comes to gaming, and peace out, as I'll see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.